Okay, so picture this scene. You're on the battlefield with a crowd of people, and you know the enemy is on their way. This foe is coming right at you. And you look ahead and you see this massive crowd of people heading towards you. And you realize you are far outnumbered. There's like 10 of them for every one of you. And they get closer and closer and closer. And then when they reach you, they start hugging and kissing you. Because guess what? They're on your side. Oh my God. That's right. The 10 times crowd is your helper. And this is a statistic you're going to hear a lot about the gut microbiome, that there are 10 times the number of bacteria and microbes and germs and all those things living inside our gut than there are of our own body's cells. Hi everybody, I'm Rikki Heller from rikkiheller.com, and I help people on restricted diets learn to love their food again so they can cook and eat delicious food without feeling deprived, learn to love eating again, and get on with living their best lives. So today I want to talk about a topic that I started discussing earlier, which is probiotics, because probiotics are beneficial bacteria that live in our guts and that actually are that army on our side. So I want to look at 3 different aspects of probiotics, and you can look at the previous video where I just discussed the 3 different types of probiotics that exist. But today I want to look at, first of all, why are they beneficial? That's number 1. Number 2 is what are some of the most beneficial strains that we can use? And number 3 is what's the most beneficial way to take these beneficial bacteria? So the first thing is, what do probiotics do for us? And this is an ongoing investigation. We're just learning about really how helpful they are and how essential they are in our bodies. But number 1 thing is that probiotics are key for a healthy immune system. So something like 70% of your immune system is dependent on the probiotics in your body. They're responsible for like 70% of our immune function. So that's obviously extremely important. And if you want to have a fully functioning immune system, you're going to make sure that your probiotic numbers are healthy as well, and that they can function and proliferate and continue to reproduce and live in your intestinal tract. So talking about living in your intestinal tract, that's another function of the probiotics, which is they help to crowd out all the bad guys who want to take up that prime real estate on the walls of the intestines. So the probiotics are going to have their positions, and the more probiotics, the fewer things like candida overgrowth or viruses or germs or parasites that can begin to grow out of control and affect your health too. So they crowd out all of those other negative microbes. The other thing that probiotics are great for is healthy digestion. So they can really help to keep things regular and help digest the food effectively. And then the last thing that I want to mention about probiotics, and there are many, many more, but this one really caught my eye because I recently read a statistic that said up to 95% of the serotonin produced in our bodies is produced by probiotics. They create more than 95% of the serotonin. And if that word's familiar, you know that serotonin is what they call the feel-good chemical. So it's really responsible for keeping you in a good mood. And when people are low in serotonin, that's when they start to have symptoms of depression and feel depressed. So for me, this is fascinating because I've done a video about the connection between candida overgrowth and depression. And this makes total sense because if candida crowds out the good bacteria, the probiotics, and probiotics are what help to keep serotonin levels normalized, then if you have candida overgrowth, no wonder so many people with candida are depressed. Their serotonin levels are too low. So increasing the probiotics and making sure that they're flourishing and living well in your intestinal tract will help to alleviate some of that, and that can rebalance your mood as well. So I think those are some really key functions of probiotics. We are finding out more functions all the time. People are studying these, and we still don't know really everything that probiotics can do for us, but they're obviously so very important. So I want to talk about a couple of the key strains, and there are many strains of probiotics. Again, we don't know exactly what they all do, or for each, it may be even different for each person what's a perfect balance, but there are certain ones that you hear about over and over that you know should be part of a healthy diet and a healthy gut. So The first sort of general strain that I want to talk about is the Bifidobacterium. And there are many, as I said, there are many different strains, but a couple that I want to point out that are sort of more common ones. Bifidobacterium bifidus, which is one of the more common strains, and it's really important for digestion and immune function, and also for countering bad bacteria. So again, like crowding out the bad guys. The Bifidobacterium longum is one that's apparently critical when you're taking antibiotics, because it can help to rebalance the acidity in the gut, and also, again, help to prevent overgrowth of bad bacteria. So you've probably been told, if you've ever had to take antibiotics, that you should be taking yogurt or probiotics, and that's one of the key strains that you want to include in there if you're taking antibiotics. Another strain that, or another type of probiotic that's really common that we hear a lot about is the Lactobacillus. And these are often from milk products, but nowadays they're creating them from all kinds of plant-based products. So Lactobacillus acidophilus is probably the most common probiotic that people hear about. It's the one that you often hear about in yogurt products, and it's really important for proper immune function, and also to boost the immune system and keep digestion working properly. And then the last strain that I wanted to mention is one that I just came across recently that I found really interesting as somebody who's been dealing with Candida for so long, is called Lactobacillus salivarius. And it's one of the strains that normally lives in the mouth and the throat. And so it's essential for good oral health. So a lot of people with Candida are dealing with oral thrush or white coating on the tongue. And so if this is a critical probiotic for your mouth, then that might be something you want to look for in your probiotics if you're buying a supplement, and make sure that you get it to help to rebalance that mouth bacteria. So those are just some there. If you read the supplements, the bottles that you buy, there are many, many strains, but those are just some of the more important ones that I came across that I just wanted to mention. But in general, what I look for when I'm buying a probiotic, if I'm buying a supplement, is to have a minimum of, I would say, 5 different strains, up to like 15 different strains in a bottle. And then what I will do is I'll rotate different brands so that I get even more of a variation or variety of strains, because I'm trying to repopulate my gut with as many different strains of probiotics as possible, so that the ones that are most important for my body are going to take hold and then repopulate and be numerous enough that they can then help me be healthy. So I do that, I rotate, and I'm always giving my body different strains of probiotics. The other thing that I do is I want to look at a minimum of 50 billion CFUs, or colony forming units, which means that those are the probiotics that can take hold and take root and really start to recolonize the intestinal tract. So if I buy something that has less than 50 CFUs, like maybe 25 billion, then I will take 2 of those at a time, just so that I'm getting a minimum of 50 billion CFUs in each dosing of my probiotics. So that's if you're looking at, bottled probiotics. The last sort of thing I want to look at after the benefits and the different strains that are key, and the number of strains, is how do you actually consume these things? So there's an interesting debate that's been going on for a long time about what's the best way to take your probiotics. And there's one school of thought that says it should be on an empty stomach, minimum stomach acid, because these are live organisms and they can be killed by stomach acid. And we want to be sure that they get through the stomach acid and survive to the other end where they're in the intestinal tract, so that they can start repopulating there. So that's one argument that says empty stomach is best. There's this whole other argument that says food, take them with food, because once your stomach starts to digest that food, then the stomach acid will be diluted by the food, and therefore the probiotics can get through alive and get to the other end. Well, it's really interesting. Recently, there was a study in the World Journal of Gastroenterology, and they looked at a whole bunch of people, and they did an experiment where they had part of the group take the probiotics on an empty stomach 30 minutes before meals, and the other part of the group take the probiotics on a full stomach with meals. And guess what they found? It doesn't matter. So whether they took it on an empty stomach or a full stomach, they still had the same beneficial effects of taking probiotics. So it's great to know that it absolutely doesn't matter. Take them when it's convenient for you. And that way, as long as you're still getting your probiotics, you know that you're doing something really good for your body. So I hope that was helpful. And if it was, please do give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, if you know somebody who could benefit from this information, please be sure to share this with them. And that way they'll be able to get more probiotics in their life, and you'll get more probiotics, and we will all have healthier gut microbiota. Thanks, everybody. I will see you next time. Take care.